Gals, and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Hillary, and if you are a returning subscriber, then you must be a crazy Hilly, and welcome back. If you guys like the content, feel free to give me a like or subscribe or leave a comment. It helps the channel out so much. And if you want to support the channel, I've got a Patreon and also merch down below if you want to check that out. Also, if you guys are curious about any of the equipment that I use, I also put that down below. It's all in the description. There are many, many links. Just pick one you like. So tonight we're going to be covering the time I'm pretty sure my sister was possessed, because some really weird stuff happened. And this happened back in my house that I grew up in, my childhood home. And yeah, it's creepy. So my youngest sibling, let's call her baby because she is the baby of the family. I have many siblings and she is the youngest, and yeah, so hey baby. Now, she has always been somebody who I feel like picks up a lot of emotions from other people. Like, she could hang out with one person and then she would pick up that emotion. She would hang out with another person, pick up that emotion. So I kind of felt that while we were in our house, she may have possibly been absorbing like some weird spirit stuff, because she used to sleepwalk quite a bit. I wouldn't even say quite a bit, but I've only ever seen her sleepwalk probably 3 times. And each time that it happened was more creepier than the next. And as soon as we moved out, you know, she lived with me for a little while and all of that stopped. She hasn't done it since. So I don't know, maybe it was the house or possibly the ghosts that resided inside the house, because there's a lot of weird stuff that happened in that house. So my first memory of this happening, I was actually with my best friend at the time, because we used to have sleepovers together. So it would be all 3 of us in a room sleeping over. And I remember I used to always fall asleep first. I would fall asleep, like as soon as my head hit the pillow, I'd be out and they'd be mad at me because I fell asleep. But this one specific time, my sister actually fell asleep first. So she fell asleep and me and my friend are just sitting there talking. And then all of a sudden, my sister just gets up and walks out of the room. And me and my friend are staring at each other like, what is she doing? Right? Like, she kind of went towards the bathroom, because she would walk out. There's a bathroom this way and a laundry room on the other side. So she kind of walked out towards the bathroom. At first, we thought she was just going to the bathroom. But she was gone for like a really long time. And I remember she just opened the door slowly. And with the shark, beady, dead black eyes, just looks at us and is like, where's Marie? And Marie is my best friend at the time, or still my best friend. You're still my best friend if you're watching. If you're not, we're not friends anymore. But she was like, where's Marie? And Marie is sitting right beside me looking at her, and we're like, right here. And she's like, okay. And she just shuts the door slowly. And we see her, as she's shutting the door, turn and go into the laundry room. And at that time, the laundry room was like a black abyss of cement. It was just, there was nothing in there. Like, I'm kind of convinced that she was down there probably drawing pentagrams on the floor and putting symbols on her forehead, because she was just there for like a weird amount of time. And then eventually she came back in, opened the door, and walked back to her chair and just sat down. And the stories of her things kind of get like progressively worse. This was the first time I had ever seen her do this in her whole life. And she just came back and sat down. And from there, we're going to move on to the next incident. And I gotta say as well, my family doesn't really have like that big of a history of sleepwalking that I know. I know I have done it one time, but again, that was back in that house. So I have no idea. I've never done it since. I've never done it before that. It wasn't like I was a child running around and, you know, the movie The Conjuring, when she's like banging her head against the thing and then Bathsheba's standing on top of the bureau and the witch jumps on her. Yeah, that hasn't happened to me. Pretty sure it's happened to baby, but not me. Now, again, the next story of my sister, we were having a sleepover and all of our friends were over. And at this time, we were all in this one area of our basement and we were all sleeping down there. It was well past like midnight, like it was late. Everyone was sleeping. except for me. Apparently I wasn't sleeping. And back then we had a tube TV, right? So we were watching shows, and then when the shows ran out, it just went fuzzy gray, you know, everything of everyone's horror dreams. That's what was happening. By the way, that TV used to turn on and off by itself, and yeah, that's another story for another time. But anyway, it was going fuzzy gray, and then my sister just starts talking. And the way she starts talking, she is mentioning like weird stuff. Like she's talking in another language. Then she switches back to English and she starts talking about murder and weird things that, like, if anyone else had said this, you'd probably be like, okay, you're going to the psychiatric ward now. Goodbye. But she started saying all this stuff, and I was the only one awake, so I'm, like, looking left and right. I'm like, yo, you guys hear this? And no one is awake. And I'm like, oh, all right, it's just me then. Guess I'm gonna have to fight the devil tonight. And then, again, she just stands up, bolt upright, gets up, walks out of the room, and goes into the completely dark section of the basement. Now, there was no light. It was just, like, a creepy area that, like, everyone kind of knew there was problems in my basement. If you go back and watch my Ouija video, you know, we had made the basement really haunted, and she just went over into that area and stayed there for a gross amount of time, like a long time, and then eventually came back after her muttering of murder and whatever else she was talking about, and then went back and laid down. And, like, if a girl has ever not wanted to sleep again in her life, that was me. I'm pretty sure I stayed up as late as possible just to make sure this kid didn't get up and, like, stab me, because she was talking some weirdness. I don't know. Now, I don't know about a lot of you guys, but if any of you guys have experience with sleepwalking, like, you can tell me if this is, like, a weird thing for them to be talking, like, full-on sentences, probably Latin. I don't know what she was talking. Like, I'm no Latin expert, but she might have been speaking some Latin and then conjuring the devil, like, down there. I don't know what was going on. Again, she went into the creepy part of the basement. Was probably drawing pentagrams on the walls and, like, out of blood and such. I don't know. I didn't go in there. But if you guys have heard, because most of the times when I see people sleepwalking, they usually talk gibberish or they do awkward things. I really feel like she was manipulated in a way. Like, it's just too creepy to me that this all happened in this one specific time, and it has not happened throughout the rest of her life. I feel like if you have sleepwalking, does it just go away? Like, I'm not a doctor, so if any of you guys know, feel free to comment down below, because I'd love an answer. And finally, the last and most creepy story. This was not me. This was actually one time that I was dead asleep. I was asleep in my room. So it did not happen to me, but it happened to my dad. So my dad was in his room. We were all upstairs. We all had 3 different rooms. So my dad was on the end, I was in the middle, and my sister was on the other end. And in the middle of the night, my dad hears the muttering again. And she's talking weirdness. She's talking a bunch of weird stuff, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and she's, like, whispering it. So I don't know if he could hear the exact conversation that she was whispering or who she was talking to, but if it was anything like my last experience, she was probably like, and, like, speaking in tongues. So he heard this, and my dad gets up, walks down the hallway, opens my sister's room door, because he's like, who is she talking to? Like, what is going on, right? And he opens the door and he looks down at her, and she's just sleeping peacefully. And he's like, what? Like, what's going on? And then out of nowhere, she pops up, like, fully, she's sleeping, like, and she pops fully up like this, eyes wide, staring right at my father, opens her mouth, and screams at the top of her lungs with her eyes wide open, staring into his soul like this. And my dad's just like, okay. And then she just, all of a sudden, closes her eyes, goes back down, falls asleep. And my dad's like, oh, not today, and just shut the door and went back into his room. With me, I'd probably be like, and we're moving? We need to find we need to find a preacher or a pastor, and we need to go to a church or something, bring some holy water in here, some basil, salt, I don't know, anything. It's pretty needless to say that it scared the crap out of him, and he told her about it. She doesn't remember any of this. She doesn't remember any of her muttering. She doesn't remember what she said. And, you know, my dad, I don't think if he ever heard it again, that's not what I've never heard that he's heard it again, but if he did, I doubt he went into her room because she scared the crap out of him. He ended up going back in his room and was just like, all right, this is my safe place. And devil child. But anyway, that's all of the stories that I have of my sister, and I truly believe she might have been possessed. I know that there was some weirdness going on in my house, and I do believe that there was a spirit, and whether or not it was the one that I had conjured while using a Ouija board, I don't know, but something affected her. I feel it. I feel just her personality and the way she is. I feel like something was able to affect her, whether or not it was in her, just in her sleep or what. But let me know if you guys have ever had anything like this happen to you, or know of any other stories like this. I'd be really interested to hear, because that's the first time that I've ever heard of that ever happening to somebody. I know of no one who else that's happened to. So if you guys could just leave a comment down below, give me a like, or subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. But I would love to hear what you guys think about that. Was she possessed? Was she just sleepwalking? Let me know. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.